Alright, in this video I'm going to replace the front glass on my McIntosh MR74 tuner with a new one. The reason I'm doing it is because, as you've probably seen on these before, the black starts delaminating from them. It's hard to see on camera. I actually touched this one up in the past with a paint pen, but I want this thing to look perfect, so I bought a new one from AudioClassics. I had this apart before, so it looks like a pretty easy job. I just had to get some supplies that I didn't have. I've got some black tape. I bought a nice type of acrylic tape. It's thin, so there's a couple spots where you want a black tape that's not going to allow light through certain areas. I also bought some different weather stripping. I think this is 1/4 inch by either an 1/8 or a 1/16. It's very thin, and then this is like 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So let's turn this guy off and pull it apart and see what we need to do. Oh, and one other thing is, a friend of mine that works on these a lot more than I do, he mentioned that the new glass might not look as good when it comes to the lettering because of the way that, assuming you take it apart, but this new glass, the paint is kind of like right in the lettering. With the old one, there's like a big blob of the green paint there. So we'll see. Hopefully it looks good. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is remove the knobs. I kind of like to put them all, actually I'm going to set them all the way to the left setting so I know how to put them back on correctly. There's a little piece of felt behind them you'll have to pull off as well. There's no screws or anything. Set screws holding them on. And they're actually keyed as well, so should have no problem going back together. This one doesn't matter how it goes back on. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, there's a flathead screw here and on the bottom as well. I'm going to undo those. I'm actually going to kind of undo the bottom ones first. Set it on the edge of the table here. Undo those. These bottom ones are really short. Don't lose them. And now the top ones. It should just pull forward. No, actually, maybe some more. It's been a couple months since I did this. Thought there was only a few. I'm going to take this top cover piece off. Actually, let's try this. I think maybe it's just these bottom two. One on each side. My memory's foggy. No, I think it's the top ones as well. Let's take this cover off. There's 2 more screws here on each side. Be able to get a better view where those are. Okay. There we go. I'm going to leave the cover on there. We'll pull this off. Fidget around with those pan lock adapters a little. Let's get this out of the way. Just kind of wedged in there. Rock it out. Okay, and there it is. Let me reset here and get the tuner off the bench, and we'll get started on the glass. We got to kind of rebuild some stuff on this plate. Alright, well, I was actually completely wrong about the screws you need to take out. You didn't need to take the top and the bottom ones out at the beginning. You just needed to take the 3 out from each side. You do need to take the top and bottom ones out at this point though, so there's no harm in having them out. So here we go, here's the glass. You can see there's a metal frame around the glass, so we need to figure out how to take this apart. There's some little flathead screws in the ends here. There's a flathead screw here and here. So I think what I'm going to do, and actually what you'll see is there's a piece of plastic here that we need to transfer over. And there was some weather stripping on that plastic that is no longer there, as well as some weather stripping on each side of the glass that's no longer there. Let me get a smaller flathead screwdriver and we can undo the end of the frame. Alright, there's one end piece. I'm not sure if this slides out. Yeah, it actually will slide out now. Just keep this frame kind of together. Alright, now we need to unscrew or just slide this up. So there we go. There's the piece we're going to keep. Here's the original glass. And you can see, I think what he was talking about is there's a lot more of this green paint around the lettering on the old style glass, whereas on the new one it's engraved and filled in with a smaller amount of green. I think it should look okay. So there's our old and new. So they already put some weather stripping on this from the factory. I'm actually going to get a rag and get it nice and clean before we start putting it back together. I'll be right back. I just noticed something. I think I see what he's talking about. So on the old glass, although there's green paint behind it, there's gold up front, so when it's off you can read the labels really well. On the new one it's still there, but it's very dim, like not as bright. So that's kind of too bad, but this old one's in pretty rough shape. If you really look at it there, you can see how badly the paint's delaminating on the back. It's really hard to get it to focus. There's a little spot that I touched up with a marker. If you are going to touch this up, I would probably use flat black paint instead of gloss black. I used one of these Sharpie black paint markers and it was like a little too shiny compared to the rest of the black. But I just bought the new one, so I'll be right back. Alright, I've got it clean. Thankfully there's no scratches on the glass. On the first one I got, it looks like their tool from their CNC machine kind of ran off and chattered across the glass, and I had to send it back. They sent me another one, but it took like a month. Anyways, let's transfer over some of the features from the old one to the new one. So on this piece, there's the black tape I'm talking about. I'm going to try to peel this off cleanly. It's like some sort of gaffer's tape. Oh, sorry, not in the camera. This tape that I'm using is going to last a lot longer. Get this foam out of here. Sorry about the dog barking. The foam just peeled right off. So we're going to use the thinner foam here. Alright. So what we'll do is we'll slide this on. They've got that tape in there. Let's see. Okay, it's hitting those pan lock buttons. I should have done it the other way. Alright. There we go. So we're going to line up those holes. Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do? Before I tape anything down, let's put the frame on. It seems like that'll kind of square things up. There's a channel on each side of this frame. This is my first time doing this, so go easy on me. Getting there. I think some. There we go. Alright, let me get this end piece back on here. Good. There we are. It's looking nice. Okay, flip it back over. Now we got to get this plastic piece kind of fixed, and as you can see, the holes all line up now. So we're gonna tape that down. Of course, we got to be careful not to get it on the clear part of the glass there. This is 1/2" tape, I believe. It might be 3/8. I don't remember. I think it's maybe it is. No, it's half. All right, got the scissors. It's actually kind of like a foil tape. Okay. Start this here. Kind of start it towards the center here. Always tweak it a little if we need to. Okay, trim the ends. So then we'll just get this pushed down. And that'll prevent the light from the bulbs from getting into the main display area where the dial is. Get my X-Acto knife here. Okay. Carefully push that down. Alright, and then we'll take the thin weather stripping and put that on top of it. I'll put some links to the couple things I bought on Amazon. These two things of weather stripping and that tape. I think the weather stripping was about $5 to $6 a roll. It's a size you can't get at like Lowe's or Home Depot. I went and looked and they didn't have any of this thin specialty stuff. It's got a real sticky adhesive on it, that's for sure. Dead flush with the end there. Work that down. Be careful not to scratch your new glass with this X-Acto knife if you choose to use one. Okay, we're almost done. The only other thing we need to do is these two pieces here to the left and to the right of the screen, and for that I'm going to use the thicker stuff. And there's a little bit of a gap between it and the... Let me see, I'm going to cut this ahead of time actually. Let's see here. How's that? And it goes, okay, so it goes all the way from there to there. I'm going to make it a little bit longer than that piece. Let's see. that look? A little bit shorter. Alright. It's not exactly on the edge, but it's close. There we go. And that kind of brings it flush with this plastic piece, so it should seal up nicely. Let's see if this piece fits down here. Need a little bit of a longer piece. Of course, I made it too long. That looks good. Alright, all taped up. Let's get the tuner back up on the bench here and get this thing installed. Make sure you clean the inside of the glass again before you put it back in. Oh, and before we get the tuner up here, we can actually put those screws back in, the ones I mistakenly took out at the beginning. Remember the real short ones go on the bottom. This is the single most expensive piece of glass I've ever bought. It was something like $230 with shipping from AudioClassics, but it's cool that they still make it though. Alright, I'll be right back with the tuner up here. Well, as far as the bulbs go on this, I replaced these festoon type bulbs here on the end, but I haven't replaced any of the other ones. I bought a kit on eBay with the replacement bulbs, but I don't remember if it was these ones or I think it was the bayonet style. The problem with them is that if you take these cardboard sleeves out and you put the bulbs in, that's the only way you can get them to fit. You can't put these sleeves back because the sleeve is a larger diameter than the bulb, or a smaller diameter than the bulb, and they're really the only bulb doing anything is this front one, and it's two directional, so the labels don't light up correctly. So because of that, I'm just sticking with the incandescents, but the festoon LEDs up here made a huge difference on this glass. Okay. And you just kind of walk it back on. You got to line up those pan lock holes first. Goes inside. Top part back down, and then you reinstall your 3 screws on each side, and so I believe the top 2 on each side are these fine thread machine screws, and then the bottom 1 on each side is this coarse sheet metal screw. They're just standard 1/4 inch. Oh, dropped one under here. Alright, I'm going to plug it back in before I put the knobs on, make sure it looks okay. I'll put the power knob back on so I can turn it. Oh, it's not the knob. That's the knob. And This guy. Oh yeah, those don't light up anything like they used to. That's a bummer. That's really too bad. They were bright at the beginning. That's really disappointing. That's exactly what he told me to expect. Oh well. If I had to do this again, I probably would have just stuck with my original glass and tried to fix it up a little bit better. But I'll put the old glass on eBay. Maybe someone, the right size felt, maybe someone can use it if theirs got destroyed completely in shipping or something like that. Well, maybe when I figure out the right LEDs to put in there, it'll offset the sadness of those a little bit. All right, there it is. All done. All right, just a few notes here. Remember the first couple of screws I took out, the two on the top and the two on the bottom? When you go to put the front back on, keep those loose. You want to tighten them up after you get it slid on. It makes it a lot easier. I ended up taking this thing apart again, and I was trying some LED bulbs, hoping that they would help with this lighting. Unfortunately, those bayonet ones I showed you earlier, they really are uneven. They'll light up like where it says FM mono there, but then this stuff over here will still be dim. So I'm really hoping that some new LEDs of the correct type will make this a little brighter like it used to be. And one last thing. That 1/4 inch weather stripping I used to the left and the right of the dial, I feel like it was a little bit too thick. What that does is that presses up against the inner glass, the dial scale, and you know, when you put the bottom screws in and kind of push the front forward, it was a little too much pressure. I would probably suggest maybe doubling up on the thin tape, or even using one layer of the thin tape and seeing how bad the light bleeds through. But you definitely don't want to break the glass, so be careful with that. All right, well, I hope this helps somebody. Thanks.